there! Welcome along to the Rebecca and It's Knitting Podcast. Welcome to my little corner of the internet where I love to share about my crafty adventures, my knitting, my crocheting, if I'm doing any, all the knitty yarny crafty things. So welcome. Thank you for joining me again. I'm sorry it's been quite a long break. I was really hoping to podcast every week through the Kiwi Make-along that I'm involved in, but unfortunately, the winter bugs got my we all had influenza, and it took nearly 2 weeks for us to all get well again. So we've had a wee break, and then I was not very productive. I did not even want to knit when I was that sick, which is crazy. That never happens to me. So I was very unproductive over those 2 weeks that we were sick, and so I have been catching up and doing a wee bit of knitting since then. My mojo is back, and so I've been doing all the spinning and knitting. I'm not going to share my spinning content with you today. I will share my progress on that. Hopefully I'll be able to record again and get back on my Monday recording schedule, so I'll share that with you then. But today I thought I'd give you a bit of an update on my finished objects that I've finished since I talked to you last, and on my ongoing WIPs that I'm working on now. So for those of you who don't know, what I alluded to, the Kiwi Make along, that is a knit along, craft along, make along, that is a whole pile of Kiwi podcasters have teamed together to promote. Started off by Marina of Strawberry Patches, and it's basically, the rules are very simple. I'll put a little place card up here, but basically knit with a New Zealand yarn, a New Zealand produced or hand-dyed yarn, or knit a pattern in any yarn that is published by a New Zealand-based designer, and you can enter into the make-along, and we will have some prizes at the end. There's about 10 of us who have put prizes forward, some yarn store owners, some indie dyers, some just random wannabes like myself who knit a lot. I'll be putting up a prize as well, and yeah, so feel free to join us. All you need to do is use the hashtag Kiwi MAL25 or Kiwi MAL on Instagram, or there's also a Ravelry page. I'll put the links in the description below. If you followed me at all, you know I'm not very good at putting stuff in my description bar like some podcasters are, but there'll always be the links to my Instagram and my Ravelry pages where almost all of the information about my projects are, if you have any questions or want to check any details. And also I'll put the Kiwi Make along details in there too. But feel free to ask any questions in the comments if you have something that you would like to know. I'm more than happy to respond to you there. I just hate putting all the links. I find it a real drag, so sorry about that. We all have our yes, strengths and weaknesses when it comes to this. But here, let's just, as you can see, what I am wearing is my first finished object, and this was my main project so far for the Kiwi Make along, and this is the Calypso sweater. I'll see if I can stand up a little bit. Bottom's got the picot bind off there at the bottom. Picot at the sleeves, which is not, which is a modification. It's rib on the sleeves in the pattern. Also picot band and this beautiful colour work yoke. This pattern is designed by Alana of Black Cat Knits, and she has a podcast, and she's the owner of the Lupine Yarn store in Auckland, and she's part of this Kiwi Make along as well. I knit this pattern using all Kiwi yarns, and it's a Kiwi designer, so double down, why not? The main colour, the blue, is a cone of yarn from Wool Yarns, who are a New Zealand clothing producer mainly. They're quite local to me, about 20 minutes from me. They have their factory shop, and once a year they sell off all the excess yarn, basically, in big cones. And so I bought a cone from them last, I think it's usually about September, October, they have their yearly sale. And this is a possum wool blend. I don't know the percentages because it doesn't have that on there. It doesn't have any meterage on the cone. It was just a 1 kilo cone of DK weight wool possum blend. So that's what this is. And if you look closely, you can see the fluffy halo coming off. That's the possum fur, which is really dark. It's got like browny black, and then the wool is dyed this deep inky blue, which I absolutely love. And then the gold colour in the yoke is 2 different yarns. I'm holding a silk, linen and alpaca blend from Myro Yarns, which is a fingering weight, and I'm holding that with a strand of silk mohair from Prosper Yarn. Prosper Yarns one was called Kate Moss, and the Myro Yarns one was called Golden, or something like that. And I held them together to get this beautiful one. Was kind of too bright of a yellow. The fingering on its own was like really vibrant golden yellow. And the Prosper Yarns one was called So Moss, and it was like a mossy, greeny gold, and held together they made this beautiful colourway, which is gorgeous. If you look at the original photos of this pattern, it was designed to use spin cycle and for the colour work, and also the colours switch mid-yoke reverse. In the original, so the only other modification I made other than not doing rib on the sleeve cuffs was that I decided to stick with the contrast colour throughout for the colour work and a main colour in behind for the colour work. So it's a little bit more, yeah, it doesn't reverse halfway down because I decided I would like to like this. So yeah, a little bit different, but I'm really happy with it. It's maybe a smidge short. I probably could have had like, I don't know, 3 to 5 more centimetres, and the length would have been slightly more comfortable, but it passes the waistband on my jeans and it's perfectly fine. So I have been getting some good wear out of this. It's lovely and warm with the double layered yoke over the chest. And yeah, really great. I'm loving it. So stoked. I got this finished. My daughter got sick on the Sunday, and I finished this Monday, Tuesday, and then I got really sick on the Wednesday. So I just squeaked it in before I started feeling really unwell. And then my knitting mojo with my mojo for living. It was awful, but we're past it now. We're not going to talk about it anymore. So this is my main finished object. The other thing I finished while I've been away are my July socks. Well, I say finished, but I haven't quite woven in all of these, so apologies for all the hanging offies. These are my July socks in my Mama Willing Sock Club colourway. This was called Woodfire Smoke, and came with a blue mini, and this is the main scape. And I chose to do a pattern sock this month. Shock horror, I never do that. But this is the Vanilla Bean Socks by the Crazy Sock Lady, which is her newly released pattern. And I just thought it would look really nice in this colourway to have a bit of texture. So you can see there it's kind of a knit purl texture. These look tiny off the blockers because this is a type of rib. It's a type of broken rib, I guess, was the best way to describe it. So really, really stretchy. So they look very slim, but they're actually fine. So they have the texture all the way on the front, all the way around the leg, and then just stocking it on the bottom and stocking it for the toe. Yeah, so they were really lovely. I'm really happy with how they came out. My best friend Helen was oogling this colourway when I showed her that when it arrived, and so I'm gifting these socks to her because it's her birthday in August. So I thought that's a good opportunity. If she loves this colourway, I'll knit her some socks in it because my sock collection is growing. I can afford to share. Yeah, so they came out really nicely. Using my 2.25mm needles. I did 56 stitches because that's what I do for my socks. I would normally do 60 or 64 when I'm gifting socks, but they're so stretchy I think it'll be fine anyway. They fit me easily. A normal shadow wrap heel. I decided not to change. I didn't have the mini with me when I got to the heel on the first one, and so I decided not to change colours on the heel. And no, that's a lie. I purposely decided not to change colours on the heel because I didn't want to have to weave in ends at these points here. It's so much more seamless if you just continue with the same colour. I got to the toe and didn't have the mini with me, so I decided not to add the contrast toe, which is what I had originally planned, but I still think they look fantastic. And I think I have enough left to make it for myself. I might need to add in another mini maybe to make it go a little bit further, but generally I can get 2 pairs of shorty socks out of a full skein and a mini skein. I did 20 rows leg plus 10 rows of rim. Okay, so that's all my finished objects for the last few weeks, which seems like not very much. But I have been knitting away, just not as much as normal. The sickness really got us, and it took me quite a while to get my mojo back. I also have been doing some spinning, which has been taking up time that I would otherwise knit. And obviously I've had to go back to work. I've burned every single sick day that I have for the year. So I now cannot afford to take any more work, and so I have been having to be present at work. So I showed you, did I show you in the last podcast? I think I talked about it, my Midwinter mini skeins from Mama Willing. I said I was going to show you, didn't I? I said I was going to show you the week's worth each week. Well, that didn't work out because we're now past the 24th of May and I have opened them all. Well, it is the 24th of May, so they are all open. May? June? No, July. Where are we in the year? July. Midwinter minis in July, Rebecca. Get it right. So I'm going to share with you. I have opened them all. So if you have the Midwinter minis from Mama Willing and you haven't opened them all yet, skip past this part or look away. If you don't want to be spoiled, it's not comprehensive. I'm not going to hold every single one of them up. I'm just going to show you kind of in the box where I have them all. And I'm going to tell you what I'm making with them because I have already started the project. So, ready? Oh my gosh, look at this beauty. So much pretty yarn. There's so many gorgeous deep saturated colours in here, and then there's quite a few like pretty pastels as well. This mini skein collection was based off Gothic jewels, so isn't that beautiful? Isn't that stunning? There's so many pretty colours. I'll grab it I dropped. And this is the main skein that came with it. There's this beautiful kind of earthy, I have a name, smoky quartz. So that's blowing out quite a bit. It's much deeper than what you're seeing there. Yeah, beautiful, just slightly variegated tonal, which would work beautifully, but I'm not going to use this with the mini skeins. I will find a different project with this. Actually, this might work quite well with the socks if I needed some extra. What I am making with the mini skeins is, while I was sick, I got accepted into a test knit, and I haven't done a test knit since Christmas time, I think. I don't think I've done any this year yet. Oh no, I have. I've done some like baby ones for New Zealand designers, but I haven't done any kind of like garment ones or big things recently. I've applied for a few but not got in, which has kind of been a blessing because then I can knit things actually. I've planned to knit and haven't knit for a long time. Anyway, the test knit that I got into is the Hoolie blanket by Rebecca Clow of the Creabea. This is a blanket that she's been planning for a while that is made in pieces, made in strips, and it's like a zigzag chevron-y sort of vibe. And there's many different sizes. And one of the things that she was wanting to do is see with her testers is see if it would work with mini skeins. So I'm using my mini skein set. She approved it all for me to do this. So it's slightly different than what the pattern will be, but it's highly modifiable. So we have this beautiful like zigzaggy chevron strip. This was the first day's colorway. And I'm holding it with this beautiful fluff, which is a DK weight brushed merino. from Ashford Yarns, and I brought this from Lupine Yarn Co. When they had a sale, and it's undyed. It's basically brushed merino with a nylon binder at a DK weight, so it's quite thick. So I'm making this on 5.5mm needles to hold the fingering along with the brushed merino DK. And this is how big it gets. I can't put it all on the screen. With one whole mini skein. So 12 zigzags, and with that 80 meters. So that will be the width of my blanket, and I'm going to make 24. So it's going to be really long. And I'm hoping once I block these that the garter will just, see how stretchy it is, lengthen a little bit so I get slightly better like width to my blanket. I do have a photo of some of them lined out, so I'll put that in here so you can get slightly more of an idea of how it's going to work. So I've kind of made 2.5 so far. I've made this one, and this one, I think this was day 3 or 4 or something. It wasn't actually next in the line, but it was the one that I wanted to start next. I think this one was actually day 2 of the advent, but I didn't start it straight away. So you can see with the more deeper saturated tones that you get a much stronger marl than you do. Like this one is just basically very subtle. This one here is kind of in between. And so we'll have some strips that look really mild and some that look really subtle, and I think that will be really nice. We'll have those really pastel kind of like, you know, gemmy tones, and we'll have the like big bold bright gem tones. So I think that's going to be really beautiful. I'm halfway through this golden one. Here's the mini skein. Colour there, quite similar. Gorgeous. None of these colorways came with names. They just came with the color. This one here is already caked up for my next one. That one was in the box. Yeah. So I'm really, I was going to say I'm really enjoying this project. I do find it a little bit boring. It was great being sick knitting because you literally do like 20 rows in garter and then change direction, 20 rows in garter and change direction. So it is relatively engaging, but it's also very much listening to a podcast or watching something knitting because it's not quite engaging enough. Just sit there and do it. It gets a little bit boring. But each one of these, I timed myself doing this half, and it took about an hour of like consistent knitting. So each strip is about 2 hours, which 2 to 2.5 hours, I guess, depending on how bam you are about it. And that seems consistent to me because when I've knit up mini skeins in sort of like an advent project in the past, I would say between 2 and 3 hours of knitting to use up that mini skein, which is quite a lot to do in a day. So I haven't committed to doing one a day. That is way too much to commit. I can't knit anything else if I do that. That is 100%, probably 150% of the knitting time I have most days. But yeah, it's really nice. And I'm going to sew them all together at the end. So the blanket pattern is going to come with 2 options, a join as you go option and a sew it together at the end option. I'm going for that one because it's quite nice to have the portability of just having this one small strip with you. It's kind of like you can put it in your bag like a sock. And the other thing is that I'm not really committed to putting mine together in the order that the colours came in the advent. I am just going to play with all the strips once they're finished and blocked, and then put them all together in an order that I like. Also, I think it'd be much easier to block them individually like this, and then sew them together rather than having to wash and block a big blanket. I mean, it's not going to be that huge. It's going to be like a lap size. The pattern's going to come with a baby size blanket, a small lap, and a large lap size blanket. And that comes with options for different size width of strips. But it's all really easily modifiable. So I've gone with the baby blanket sized width but because I'm holding it with, it's written for DK weight, so you're supposed to at least hold it double, but because I'm holding it with a DK weight, I'm getting a bigger gauge than just DK. I'm using 5.5mm needles, and so I've got a wider width than the baby blanket strip actually should be, and I've also got a longer length than the blanket should be for the baby size, but the length kind of works out to be about the size of the small lap blanket. And I love my sweatshop lap blanket that we have on the back of the couch. I use it all the time, so this will be, and we have 2 couches in our house, so actually we have 3, so there's more than enough couches for another lap blanket. So that is really enjoyable. I gotta pick my mood. It's kind of like vanilla sock knitting, but fluffier. And the fluff is getting up my nose. But this is really beautiful. I'm really enjoying using this. I've never used a yarn from Ashford's before, but it's, yeah, really good. And it was quite affordable, especially when it was on sale, but even when it's not on sale, it's quite affordable. It comes in 100-gram skeins, but you get like, and it's a DK weight, but you get like, oh, I can put it on the screen if I can find the information again, but like very, very good meterage, maybe 350 meters or something like that of DK weight in 100-gram skein, because it's brushed, it's so light. And I do love, this is one skein caked into 2 cakes because it got so big I had to like break it off my ball winder because it was just, the cake was already in. So I haven't used one skein. I think I will use about 4 finish the blanket. I have 6 maybe? Not sure. I have plenty, and it's readily available if I need it. So the deadline for this test knit is the 25th of December, so it goes through till Christmas, so there's no major rush. Some people are powering ahead and have done lots already. I am not one of those. I did cut, because I had the yarn on hand at home already that I was going to use. I did cast it on the day that I got accepted into the test knit and finished my first strip that day. So I was the first test knitter to post a photo of a finished strip. Yay, go me! Yeah, no, then I kind of lost steam and got straight to on other projects. So once I had my mojo back and I stopped having massive headaches and could concentrate on knitting, you know what I wanted to knit? My pressed flowers cardigan. So that's what's been on my needles as well. Haven't got massive progress because it is knit flat, which is a bit slower for me. It is fully mosaic knitting, which is also a little bit slower. And we're losing stitches. And it did take me a long time. So I've probably only been working on this over the last 2 weeks, even though I haven't been here for nearly 5 weeks. Where's my... Oh, I could show you this better. And of course, not here when I wanted it. Oh, man. Okay. Alright, well, I'll just show it like this. This is the beginnings of my pressed flowers cardigan. It's all bunched up on a needle because I didn't have any. I love a 55 centimeter cord. That is my favorite for all garments. 22 inches, 55 centimeters, and so I have very few other lengths because I find this is the best. I'm going to try and show you up a bit closer. I'm just going to try and spread it out a little bit for one section so you can see. Blowing out a bit, but can you see that? Look how stunning it is. It's turning out exactly as I had hoped and expected with the colorways I showed you. Hopefully that's focusing. Ah, it's so cool. I'm really enjoying knitting this. It is so fun, so engaging, but simple enough that it's not using too much brain energy. It starts bottom up, obviously. I've got the full width of the cardigan minus the bands here. And mosaic knitting, so you only use one colour at a time. And so you slip stitches and you knit stitches to create this texture. There's very little purling because you've got the garter bumps. So on the back side, you mostly knit on the back, except for you only purl the flowers to keep them in stocking stitch. So it's really cool. So I've finished one full chart. The chart is the 2 flower repeat. I need to do 2 full charts for the in this colorway, as I worked out. Looking at the sample, I've got 3 colorways to blend throughout. Looking at the sample, it looks like there's about 9 to 10 flowers. Yeah, that's right. Sorry, I had a real moment there when I was like, what? I don't know, maybe it's half that. No, about 10 flowers in the full length of the cardigan. So what I'm going to do is do 2 repeats of the chart in each colorway. So I've started with the darkest one, so I've finished 1 repeat, and I'm going to do 2, so there'll be 4 flowers in this colorway, which is this one here. For anyone who hasn't seen my previous episode where I talked about this, this is a merino nylon high twist blend from Marmalade Yarn Co. This is the first ever hand-dyed yarn that I ever bought for myself, and I bought this fade set. Oh, crochet book stuff in here. I've only wound up the first ball because I was feeling unwell. I just did what was necessary at the time. So it's a fade like this. So these 2, there's not a heap of difference when you look at them here. I think they will look very subtle. It'll be very subtle in this pattern, but I think it's going to be stunning. And so I'm going to do 4 full color flowers in this colorway, and then 4 in this one, and then however many is left to finish the cardigan in this one. I think I have to do about 6, like 3 pattern repeats to get to the underarm length. So, like, I feel like it definitely needs, I'm halfway through a flower, but it definitely needs that much more finish to be long enough in the body, right, to get to the underarm split, because if I put that at my underarm, it's still only mid-rib. Yeah, it definitely needs at least 1 more pattern repeat after this one, if not 2. Depending on, you know, how I talked about, my plan was originally to make this to wear over a knit dress. So I do need to have a little bit of a think at some point, not quite yet, but at some point, about how long I do actually want it to be. Do I want it to sit at my waist and be quite cropped to wear specifically with dresses? Or do I want to knit it long enough that I can also wear it with pants and jeans? It's so pretty, guys, and it's so fun to work on. They are really long rows, so it's not fast progress. And there's a lot of moving your yarn forward and back with slipping stitches, so it's not particularly quick knitting, but I am really enjoying it. The other colorway that I'm using for my main color is this yarn here, which is one of Skeins' special dip dye blends that they do for their promotions, and this one was called Smoky Quartz, I think, something like that, which is 100% merino. No, I think it's actually 100% wool. I don't think it's actually merino. I think it's just a wool, a really nice wool base. I'm holding it with this Skeins mohair. This one is called Quartz or Smoky Quartz or something like that. I know that's what the Mama Wooling one was also called, but I'm pretty sure it had a very similar name. So I'm holding those together. This pattern is written for sport weight yarn. This is fingering, but quite a light fingering, like a 400 meters to 100 grams fingering. So I'm holding it with the mohair just to bulk it out a little bit. And the contrast color is also technically a fingering, but it is 370 meters to 100 grams, so it's a slightly heavier fingering weight, and it's that high twist as well. And so it's working out great. I mean, the flowers don't bam pop in your face because they are a lighter weight and they don't have the fluff. So, but I think having the fluff in the main color and then having the flowers being really smooth with no fluff actually helps them pop better than if they had both had fluff or were both just smooth, because the colours are quite tonal. But just imagine how stunning this is. I'm not sure how tricky it's going to get once I get as a V-neck cardigan. So once I get up to the underarm and I do the splits and I have to do the shaping, I'm not sure how complicated it's going to get to keep the pattern correct. But it is actually quite a simple pattern once you get started. It's quite nice. And considering my brain space, it was really nice that this started as a bottom up, to be honest, because literally I could just cast it on and say, look, knit a million rows of rib. That's all I had to do to start. So it actually made it really achievable, and also you didn't have to think about getting the pattern right with shaping. You could just go, okay, I've got a set amount of rows, follow the chart, just get used to doing the pattern back and forth before you have to start trying to work in the shaping. So I quite like that. Though usually I'm not such a fan of bottom up things, I'm enjoying it for this. That was a long spiel about one project. Okay, that's the pressed flowers cardigan. That's my other main WIP. The only other thing that I am actively working on at the moment, other than my spinning, is another pair of socks, because I finished these ones and couldn't resist immediately casting on another pair that are from my stash, one from my stash, and I'd had them put aside to make a pair of socks with, and I found them when I was tidying up my knitting accessories box. I want to make these socks. I really wanted to make DK socks again in July, because I'm really enjoying wearing my DK socks, you know, my fingering held with a strand of mohair socks, and over the winter, and so I really wanted to make another pair of DK socks. But this pattern is a fingering weight pattern, and I didn't have any mohair that would go with this, that didn't ruin the colourway. And I didn't want to hold it double, because then I would have none left for me since I was gifting these socks. So I've cast on a pair of fluffy socks again, fluffy DK socks, and I actually finished one already because I enjoyed it so much. These are all yarns from my stash. Last year or the year before, I did a couple of yarn advent swaps with other knitters, and we did scrappy swaps. And I did one that somebody sent me 10-gram balls, and one that somebody sent me 20-gram balls. One was a New Zealand knitter, one was an Australian knitter. And I have combined a bunch of these little 10 and 20-gram mini skeins to make these beautiful fun fluoro socks. I have woven in these ends but not trimmed them. I just finished this last night at work, actually. So there you go. Look at these. Aren't they fun? So I had the speckledy mini skein. This was 20 grams, and then I just hunted through my stash of mini skeins to see which colours do I have that actually go the best with the colours in this. And so I found a pink, a green, and a blue that were pretty close to the speckles, and there is a like highlighter yellow in there as well, but I don't own any highlighter yellow yarn, so I didn't incorporate yellow. Yeah, so these are really lovely. Again, just a vanilla sock, slips, yeah, same heel as I normally do, same toe as I normally do, just held with mohair. I just held that same skeins fluffy white. This one's just the white one, mohair throughout, and the 10 rows of rib for the cuff, and then 12 rows for the leg, shadow wrap heel, 50 rows for the foot, and a regular wedge heel, and 3mm needles I used for this. And what else to say? There's still a bit of a line because I haven't blocked them yet, but this is from me magic looping, and I do find that goes once I've blocked them. Yeah, absolutely love. They're so warm. I tried this one on earlier. So absolutely loving those. Hopefully I'll get the other one finished by the end of the month, so that then I can start my August socks whenever my colourway comes from the wooling. I have cast on just the cuff so far of the next one. A little bit tangly because all the little balls. So I'm not 100% sure if the second sock will turn out exactly the same as the first sock, because I didn't weigh my balls before I started. I was pretty sure I had 10 grams of each of the 3 colours and 20 grams of the speckledy one. I still have quite a bit of the pink. And because these are mini skein, you know, like an advent made up from scraps from other people, they're not always 100%. Oh gosh, this is so tangled. This mohair grips everything. This was like a precursor to Skeins Whisper mohair. This was like their trial run one, and they were unhappy with how it turned out, and they sold it really cheaply in a sale and modified their blend for their ongoing yarn. And I can see why this one was not the go-to. It grips everything, so annoying, and it comes out in clumps sometimes. So I still have this much of the pink, and all I need to do is 2 rows before the toe. So I've got a little bit extra of that. I have this much left of the green, so hopefully that will get me through the heel. And the toe. Blue. The ball of the blue looked smaller than the ball of the green, which is why I chose to do the toes in blue and the heels in green, because I thought the heel uses slightly more yarn than the toe. And also I was worrying that I was getting quite low on this colour, so that's why I had the little stripes before the toe. And I didn't think I had enough to do more of the toe in this. I mean, because that's pretty small. There's not a lot left. How much is left of the speckledy one? Again, it's looking pretty little. So we'll see how the second sock turns out. There will be enough yarn between all of these to finish it, absolutely, have no doubt. Just might look slightly different. There might be less. I might be the same until about halfway down the foot, and I might have to incorporate some more stripes before the toe if I run out of the speckles. But there is plenty of pink, so I'll probably just add some more pink in. Maybe alternate, do 2 rows pink, 2 rows speckle for a while, and then do a green before the toe and then the blue. Maybe if I'm starting to run low. We'll see how we go. So I'm really enjoying that. And that, I'm keeping that project in my one acquisition that I have to share with you. And that is this beautiful bag. This is a Hohi Locatelli project bag, and I bought this on a D-stash, so it is pre-loved. It's not brand new. And I put this beautiful little blingy sheep on it. Look at this. Isn't that cute? I love it. Anyway, I didn't want to puncture the leather, but it can just go across the back of the strap there. So isn't it cool? Anyways, enough about sheep. It's one of those beautiful, like, tuck it through. I can't remember what the style of bag is called, but you can pop it on your wrist when you go for a walk, or just have it with you. It's a beautiful sock-sized bag, and you know what? I got it at the same time as I was with these, and could it have been any more matchy-matchy? Like, how stunning. So yeah, this was my one acquisition. I brought it on a D-stash. It is pre-loved. It is 100% natural leather, and Hohi Locatelli. It's just a little bit special, isn't it? I think so. So I'm a bit in love with my lovely little. It's perfect size for socks, for hats. I could probably keep, you know, like one of my mini skeins. If I was working on my blanket, I could use it for that too. Yeah, I love it. It's really cool. I love leather things. And that's about all I have to share with you today. I thought this was going to be a really short episode, but that's already 40 minutes. So I guess I did have enough to share. I probably could have come back sooner. Thank you so much for joining me again. And apologies again for such a big delay between episodes. Hopefully I will be able to pick up the pace a little bit more and be a bit more present here. nothing else exciting to say. I'm working a night shift tonight, so I'll be taking some knitting with me just in case it's quiet and I get a chance to knit at work. Very rarely happens, but I always have some with me just in case. I'll probably take my sock and one of my blanket strips. And yeah, I've got really busy weeks coming up. I've got the weekend off, which is nice. Well, at least Saturday. Excuse me, I am working Sunday, but not Saturday. And my hubby and I are going out for a date night, which we haven't done in forever. It's been so long since we went out together. And we've seen very little of each other this week because I've been on PM shifts. He's been working days and he's in Auckland for the day today. So he left at like, I don't know, 4:35 a.m. this morning, and I'm on a night shift tonight. So he'll get home and I'll go to work. So we've very much been ships in the night this week. So I'm really looking forward to catching up. We're going out to dinner and a movie, which again, really looking forward to that. And got busy shifts, you know, just normal work next week, but I also have an extra 2 education days for my first year of practice program. All the midwives in New Zealand, their first year that they graduated, there's quite a robust program that they go through of mentoring and ongoing professional education to make sure that they are supported in their new practice. So I've got 2 days to attend next week amongst my work shifts for that. So it can be a very busy week. But I do find on study days, it's generally quite well accepted for me to take my knitting and just do my knitting while I'm listening to the talking. So hopefully I'll also get a good amount of knitting done. Probably will be my blanket, or I still haven't finished. I'm sorry, Sarah. I still haven't finished lengthening that sweater for my friend Sarah. So I might wind off some of the yarn from the comb so that I don't have to carry comb around with me, and take that with me potentially and try and just get the rest of the body length done, because that's just stocking it in the round, but it's just so boring because it's fingering weight. You make so slow progress and all I want to do is knit on the pressed flowers and the fluoro fluffy socks. I don't want to just knit in the round on fingering weight. So I might take that because then I'm forced to kind of just make progress on that, at least for one of the days. Because it would be nice to get back to her before winter's over. We've had a stunning week of weather, absolutely gloriously sunny days, with hard frosts in the morning, like -2 degrees. But the sun is streaming in my windows now. It is absolutely stunning. So I'm going to finish up so I can head out and get a little bit of a walk in before I have to get my kids from school. And yeah, I will see you again. I'm hoping I'll be able to record again Monday. Because I've got, all those extra days later in the week. So let's try for Monday. And I don't know if I'll post it on Monday, but I'll try and record again on Monday. And I'll give you a little bit of an update on what I've been spinning. Ka kite anō, everybody. Thank you again for joining me. And happy knitting. Stay safe and warm, or enjoy the sunshine. Catch you later.